blew into this town, knocked over the walls of this little hut they were staying in. And he said, we floated down this river from the rushing water. It was so high, he said, I can remember the palm trees, like we were smacking into the tops of the palm trees on this sort of rushing river. And he was holding on to his 3-year-old son, and he was trying to get a better grip on him, so he sort of shifted his grip. But the son was covered in sunscreen, and he slipped out of his grasp, and the kid floated away. And the man would say to me, but he's got water wings on. And so I think maybe he made it, because he has water wings. Maybe being a mother does bring a different perspective to it. I remember in Katrina, we did a story on a family where the mother had died in her bed because she didn't get oxygen. Died in her bed. And the children were trapped in the house with her, small children, 9, 10-year-olds. And they were trying to figure out how to leave and not leave their mother behind. I remember coming back from Haiti, a couple weeks ago, and you look in the eyes of these 2-year-old orphans, and the eyes of an 80-year-old would look back at you. The oldest, saddest eyes would stare back at you like they have seen everything. And they're 18 months old. Can you adopt 300,000 children out of a country? Can you save a country by removing its children? These are the questions that I both struggle with, but also I think I'm blessed to be able to tell, because they feel important and they feel bigger than me. I think they're stories about who we are as people, who we are as human beings, and what we value as human beings. Leadership is about ideas. Leadership is not positional, like you're the CEO, ergo you are the leader. Everybody knows somebody in your business who's a great leader, who on the flow chart is kind of at the bottom, because they can motivate people and they can reach into their hearts and make them follow them because they believe in them. Dr. King was like that. It's one of the reasons the FBI was so afraid of him, was because really he was able to have the power of ideas behind him. And the fact that 41 years after his death, we're still discussing those very same ideas. The regimes across the globe are being confronted with those words that Dr. King wrote or spoke. But this time it's somebody Chinese delivering it, or this time it's somebody Iranian delivering it, or this time it's somebody African delivering those words. It's so powerful because it's about sort of the bigger picture and the greater good. How does that relate to real life? How do you see it in modern days? I'll tell you a story of a young man who was a politician. And he lived in Newark, New Jersey, and he wanted to get into politics. He told me this story over lunch one day. He said, I had to go see a person who sort of he called it, you had to kiss the ring. You had to basically have her give you the nod that you could enter local politics at a low level. And so she brought him out to the courtyard of his building in Newark, New Jersey. And for anybody who doesn't know, Newark is a city that's had a lot of troubles. It's coming back, but it's struggled with every single issue a major inner city struggles with. And she brought him out to the courtyard. She said, okay, well, describe for me what you see. I said, what I see. Okay, well, crack house over there, school that's falling down over there, a bunch of kids on the corner over here, a house that's completely abandoned and boarded up over there, another crack house over there, kids on the corner over there. And she said to me that this woman who'd have to give him the nod about entering politics, not like that, said, we don't need that. We certainly don't need it from a politician. When I say, what do you see, I want to know, what do you see is possible here? Somebody listing for me the litany of problems that exist in Newark, which, by the way, we all know. We don't need that in a politician. What do you see is possible? And he got it. His name is Cory Booker. He's the mayor of Newark. He understood the idea of what you see is possible is much more powerful than what you just see. The vault of justice, as Dr. King liked to call it, is not empty. I think we are constantly challenged to make justice live everywhere, here and everywhere, for all people. There are opportunities every day, and especially for people who work with young people who are so passionate and so interested in genuinely changing the world. Once you get to about 40, you're like, yeah, changing the world, I'll get to that. First I gotta do these 10 other things. But for college students, they're ready to change the world. They are so passionate about change. There's so much opportunity for us to make great change. Dr. King called it the fierce urgency of now. Nobody more than college students lives that. And I fiercely agree with that. We all have a chance to use our voices. And as a rule, I hate speakers who throw in quotes in speeches because usually I don't understand them at all. Theodore Roosevelt once said, blah, 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 and I can't follow. But there's one good one. There's really one really great quote that is worth remembering. And it's from Dante, and it's said to be President Kennedy's favorite quote. And it goes like this: "The hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in great times of great moral crisis maintain their neutrality." There's nothing worse than doing nothing and saying nothing when your voice is needed. On whatever the topic is, there's nothing worse. That even the person who is the perpetrator of something bad is less worse than the person who stands by and has a chance to speak and says nothing. There's nothing worse than that. I agree. Those of you who work with students directly, you have an opportunity to shape this message of leadership for them. You have an opportunity to let them realize the power that they have and the voice they have to stand up and shout, to not maintain their neutrality. As I work on the next book I'm writing, which is called The Next Big Story, The Journey Through the Land of Possibilities, we're hoping to engage young people to think about the power that they have and what they can offer to this world in leadership and ability and in passion, remembering that we're far more alike than we are different, regardless of what we look like or where we come from. I want to thank you very much for this opportunity to address you today. Thanks for joining me.